Hello and welcome to our review for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I can't wait to see this movie again.
So,
I'm gonna go even if you're not going with me. That's how I'm starting this.
well,
I
don't
want to see it
don't
again.
don't bury the lead. When I saw
What's that mean?
I'll explain to you later. The point is, you just came out with exactly how you felt about the film, which is fine. There's
Don't make
there's
any
no point
promises then.
there's no point building suspense up, but I'll try and build it from my point of view on the film. So just briefly, when I first
Briefly.
saw when I okay, when I say briefly, you know it doesn't
Funny.
mean briefly. When I say to you 2 minutes, you know it doesn't mean 2 minutes, etc. Expanded and so on. My concept of time and being brief
And
is
you're
not
dragging
correct.
that point out.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Just
when I
get to
first saw the trailer for this film, I thought, "Oh, cool! They're doing a Miles Morales take on Spider-Man. That's great, and about time." And it looks kind of cool, bit of a weird style for the animation, kind of comic booky. Fair enough. Then more trailers started coming out, and the way that it moved, I wasn't a fan of. Kind of a jerky kind of animation. To me, what it screamed of was cost cutting, being cheap, and only animating like every other frame. So instead of 24 frames, maybe they do 12 frames because it's like a jerky kind of thing. In like the Lego movie, they do it so it looks like stop motion, which is cool. But here it just looked like it was just cheap. And I thought, I don't know why everyone's raving about this. And then the film...
There's a lot of step animation in it.
And then when the film came out, people were going nuts over it. And I'm like, it might be fun, but I know there's something about the animation I just don't like.
While we're on the topic of the trailer, instead of going back talking about it, when I saw the trailer, I loved the look of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, looks kind of cheap, yes, but then when you look beyond the way it's been animated, which is different, which is cool, you see the amazing cinematography, and that's what caught my eye right away. I was thinking, this is pretty damn good looking for a cartoon movie. It looks very comic booky, but every frame was a painting. Yeah. Keep going.
And so I just was skeptical on this. And, we're going to go see it. We go see most of these kind of big films. It was different, though, because I can't remember the last time there's been a superhero animated film in the cinema like that in a big way. If ever, really. I know Mask of the Phantasm got a limited release in the cinema back in the 90s, but... So it was just different as well. And so we went to see it. And in motion, it was a whole different experience. I really think that it's something to do with the way that the frame rate or the look of the animation converts to like online video on like YouTube. I think when you watch it in a cinema, it looks different.
Yeah, but we saw the trailer in the cinema too. And
I
you
suppose.
were kind of like,
I suppose.
too.
Well, maybe it's just sitting down with it in real time, watching
Yeah.
an entire movie, and you settle into it.
It's
And
like 3D. You get used to it.
the little details of like they'd have the little speech bubbles every now and again, or like but they didn't overdo it. They didn't overuse it.
They did it just.
They didn't go like comic book panels. Like they didn't overuse it, saturate the thing in like this is a comic book. That it was just every now and again to remind you and to pay homage to where all these characters come from, which is the panels of comic books. And the story is really damn good.
Yeah.
We got a great kind of different kind of origin story for Miles Morales, for Spider-Man. I loved the kind of the backstories we'd get on each of the Spider-Men, Spider people. And it would kind of show you a comic book cover and say, okay, so I'm Spider-Man, I did this and I did that, the story, and they show kind
That's funny too, because it's like, the story. You've heard it before.
Yes.
And then they even mention little things from like all the Spider-Man movies they've done.
Yeah.
Like the little thing with, what's the first, Tobey Maguire, when he's doing the
dance from Spider-Man 3. He's like, yeah, we don't talk about that very
when
much.
he's got Venom in him. No, but that's funny.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Yeah, it's
really funny.
It's self-referential, and it takes place in this multiverse. So it's kind of everything is not quite the same as reality, and the multiverse gets opened up, the Spider-Verse, so to speak. And I loved how the villain, Fisk, Kingpin, had an actual motivation for playing around with this collider thing and going into the multiverse. It wasn't this big kind. At one point, he says it's not always about the money. So you find out that he's a big brute. He's kind of an evil, vicious bastard, but he actually has a human emotional reason to do this. Even if the reason that the backstory to that is because he was a bad guy to begin with. So it's not like it's he has true heroic intentions. He's a bad guy, But what he really wants is something that anyone can relate to, I think, which is trying to save his family, basically. Spoilers, you've all seen the film by now. Everyone's seen it. So, I was intrigued by how is this element going to work with all the different Spider-Men, Spider-Women, Spider-Pigs, you know? Wait, I didn't even think about that. Spider-Pig does whatever
That
a
was my
Spider-Pig
least
does.
favorite character.
But I loved how he was a throwback to the old Looney Tunes
Yeah,
cartoons.
he said that to all folks, didn't he?
Yeah, and so we get different style, like the anime kind of style with, was it Penny Parker? I loved Spider-Man Noir. I mean, holy shit, we got
Nicolas Cage was
Nick
funny.
Cage as fucking Spider-Man in a movie.
In my head, he was inside that suit. That was a Nicolas Cage in a suit, but somehow drawn. Because the way you move too.
Can I do it if I actually wear the suit? Just like, no, you don't need to. We're going to animate it. But if I just wear the suit when I'm doing, like, I can imagine him
My
kind of.
suit.
You tore my suit. So he was probably one of my favorite parts of the film.
I hoped he was going to have some kind of freak out though, but he didn't.
Yeah, and of course he's very much like a take on the old detective comics and movies of like the 40s and stuff. It's in the title Spider-Man Noir, which I love and that he was black and white in a color world, and he's confused by
And
a Rubik's
there's a
cube.
Rubik's
Oh my
cube.
god!
I love it. I was like,
Yeah, if you don't know, Connie's a big Rubik's cuber and enthusiast, and
whenever I see it in any movie, I get really excited.
but I just love the simple joke that he can't understand colors, and it's a thing that you need the colors to kind of.
It's like, I'll figure it out. I'm going to bring this with me.
So this is purple. It's really funny. The script is great. I loved Miles's relationship with his uncle. It felt believable and real, and it plays off really well for the rest of the film. And not really spoiling much to say that Spider-Man always has to have some kind of tragic element involving his uncle. And we see like all the tragic backstories of all the other Spider people and how they connect. And we got Spider-Gwen, Spider-Woman, which is really cool. Just different variations on the character. And I don't know, there was something about it that actually I loved, and I was not expecting it at all.
I wasn't bored once.
I was expecting to enjoy it. I was expecting to have a good time. That it would look pretty, it would be fun, to have some good jokes. But I wasn't expecting it to have a great story and to work, even though it really shouldn't have, considering
it looks stunning.
Looks stunning. I mean, the credits are amazing. I was just like in awe of just the credits at the end of the film. I thought this is art. Like this is like proper comic book art. Like it's just unbelievable. Like the amount of effort that must have gone into that credit sequence alone is staggering to me.
I think the leap of faith that you get, if you've seen the movie, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
With the main character, the little montage with
Montage
with him. Y'all.
Yeah, you mean his.
That is when he's going through the city and everything.
His first.
It looked so amazing. I was just sat there like almost drooling, and I wanted to just go out and draw right away. I was so inspired and motivated by this movie, not just drawing wise, but I wanted to actually focus on animation and not just modeling and stuff. It was so fun. I can't wait to see it again. I would rather watch this one twice again than watch Bumblebee. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so cool. And like the music, which is a lot of like modern music, which isn't really my kind of music, but it fits so much in the story itself and felt really fluid and natural and part of the overall feel of it. I love some of the Easter eggs. In Times Square, you see a poster for either a Shaun of the Dead sequel or an alternate version of Shaun of the Dead.
Really?
From Dusk Till Dawn, which was really fun. So just love little like nuggets like that. The Stan Lee cameo.
It was nice to see Stan Lee. It was a little bit like, and then at the end, it was like
a tribute to him. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I got a little bit like. Oh.
I loved the Stan Lee cameo because it's a simple joke where he's selling Miles a standard kind of Spider-Man outfit. And he's like, what if it doesn't fit? He's like, well, it'll fit eventually. And he's got this kind of grin on his face, and then you see in the background it says no refunds, So the joke is, yeah, it'll fit you eventually. It's kind of like he's just kind of, almost scamming people. But if you actually read into it more, it actually is about Miles, I think, and about anyone, really, who feels like they haven't achieved their potential in something. Mm-hmm. It's like, the suit symbolizes him becoming something more and making more of himself. And then he's saying, well, it'll fit eventually. It always fits eventually. It's a really good message, I think. It's kind of a double thing where it's kind of like a funny joke, and it's also quite a poignant kind of message, and I really like that. And to be one of his last, I think it's his last voice acting role, I suppose. I know he's filmed a few more cameos for the future Marvel live action films. You know, what can we really say about the film that hasn't been said already? Everyone's talking about it. It's so colourful.
If you haven't seen it, you gotta go see it. If you like Marvel just a tiny bit, it's worth seeing.
People are saying that it's the greatest comic book movie ever made. And of course, when something this fresh and different and something you've never seen before comes out, you feel the urge to say something like that. But I will say it is genuinely one of the best comic book films. Easily top 10, one of the best comic book films, because it feels like a comic book, not in a cheesy way where it's like the panels all the time, but just in the way that it looks, like even like all the little dots, you know, just the different styles that they incorporated, the different things that they innovated to make it look like a comic book, but also be its own thing.
It's beautifully made.
Beautifully made, and
that's just the way it is. It's you can play the movie and pause it, and it will look good where you pause it. I feel.
Yeah, the shot where he's like falling upside down, like the his first web swinging scene was incredible, and I loved him kind of being mentored by an older Peter Parker, and the other ones as well when they come into it. The action scenes are fun as well, and I feel like there's something else that I wanted to mention about the film, which is kind of eluding me. Something to do with it being a comic book, kind of. Yeah, no, it's gone. Anything else you want to say while I try and think?
It's the explosions in one of the scenes that made it pop out like a comic book as well, because you had the bam and the boom and stuff like that, and then you had the like spikes and stuff coming out at him in a way instead of just the flames.
I remembered what it was, and I'm so glad I did. So the scene when he's first learning to shoot the web, and Spider-Man's like, you just whip it, you know, and they got the little sound effect on the screen, you know, the onomatopoeia, and they're swinging. He's like, yeah, that's it, you got it. And I turn around and I see Connie with like a slight smile on her face, going,
I was swinging with them. I was going with them in
like,
the motion.
is there anything more joyful than seeing someone so into a film that they're literally like that? I thought it was incredible. Like, I wanted to say something to you and go, you know, you got, but I didn't want to like interrupt you in your moment.
You told me right after, and I'm like, did I?
Yeah,
but I was so into it, so I'm not surprised.
Which is great. I just love that. That was my favorite part of the film, just because of that, I think. But I was so surprised, and I definitely want to see it again pretty soon. I don't think I was, you know, I think like you're like this in love with it. I'm just underneath, but I'm almost as close as you are. And obviously you're...
But that's because I view it artistically as well.
Yeah, which I do too, but you do it from an eye as someone who actually does, you know, drawings and art and things like that. And
art. A bit of weird art.
Bit of weird art, isn't it? So that's about it, right? Yeah, it's pretty damn great film. And what an amazing year for Spider-Man it's been. You know, we got to see some cool stuff with Tom Holland Spider-Man in Infinity War, fighting Thanos and stuff. We got to see the Spider-Man PS4 game, which is one of my favorite takes on Spider-Man ever. I love that game so much. And here we have, you know, one of the best Spider-Man films. I'd put it right up there with the first two Sam Raimi films for sure. You know, easily beats the Amazing Spider-Man films and the new Tom Holland ones, as much as I really enjoy those as well. And yeah, and there's loads of like references crammed in, like the Hall of Suits, which you can see from different films and different, you know, I think there's even the Spider-Man PS4 suit in one of the cases and stuff. And I am sure they're going to rinse this thing dry now. We're going to see like 15 new Spider-Verse films and whatnot. I love the post-credit scene where they put Spider-Man in like the old, like, I think it's 60s cartoon or something. Like, the really the really limited animation.
Funny.
Like, they really made it like look like, you know, a really bad kind of old animation, which was really fun. And we heard Oscar Isaac play Spider-Man, which was fun. So, there we go. Into Spider-Verse. Any closing words, thoughts?
Go learn a Rubik's Cube. Don't be Nicolas Cage.
What if they're colorblind, though?
You're colorblind. You can see the colors.
What if you're really colorblind?
Well, then I feel sorry for you.
Imagine watching this film and not being able to see any of the colors. Imagine if this film's in black and white. You know, everyone's like, they do this trend now, like Mad Max, black and white, Logan, black and white. Do you think Into the Spider-Verse black and white would work?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Not as well.
Not as well, no. The colors
still look cool.
The colors are almost a character unto themselves, I thought. So, yeah. Oh, one last bit. I loved the bit when Miles says with great power, and Spider-Man says, "Don't you say it? Don't you finish that sentence." I love that because it is one of those things that gets so overused, and they're aware of that, and they poked fun at it, and I love them for that. So, great film, huge surprise for me, one of the best of the year, I think. And thanks for watching. Leave your thoughts down below if you've seen it. You probably have, and we'll see you in the next one.
He's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you, 'cause